And you ain't gotta be creeping. I don't know why you trying to act.
Always watching our backs because, you know, we didn't know what was gonna happen being in that neighborhood.
At the age of 12, twin brothers Alan and Albert Hughes were given a video camera by their mother. 8 years later, they were in Hollywood, making their first feature film. It's called Menace to Society.
Back in the early 90s, gang stories were everywhere, showing the gritty, raw, authentic realities of people living in the hood. But when the Hughes brothers started working on Menace to Society, no one imagined the chaos that would unfold behind the scenes. Yes, it was shot right in the hood. In fact, real gang members were watching over the set like their life depended on it.
This one guy, I forget his name, but he was the scariest guy in the area. I remember that to try to defuse this, we offered him his job as like our head neighborhood security guy. And he did a great job.
But even with that protection, things got shaky. Actors, some of them fresh out of drama school, started to panic. This wasn't Hollywood. This was real. One wrong look, one wrong step could spark something dangerous.
Always watching our backs because, you know, we didn't know what was gonna happen being in that neighborhood.
Where sometimes a person on the crew might say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing.
Now, between the tension, there was TUPAC, who decided to turn the heat up. What started as a disagreement over his role in the film turned into a full-blown beatdown. TUPAC and his crew jumped the Hughes brothers, and they caught real injuries, not just bruised egos.
I said, get out the car, we about to box. His brother, his twin brother, got out and started running. That's on my mama. He ran. The other brother got out, started talking. He said, I said, you acting like a.
TUPAC says, both of y'all get out, I'm gonna beat both y'all ass. Exactly like that.
And just when you thought it couldn't get crazier, behind the scenes, enter Jerry Heller. Yes, EAZY-E's infamous manager, deeply tied to the industry and to the streets. He even pulled a gun on them.
But also, I remember we were at Jerry's backyard one day, and he was in his sweats. And he literally pulls out a 25 and points it at my brother.
A gun?
Yeah, like,
really?
What you say? What you say?
Really?
What'd you say?
Let's get into it. Back in the 90s, the Hughes brothers, Alan and Albert, decided it was time to tell the raw, unfiltered truth about what life was really like for black men growing up in the hood in California. And Menace to Society did exactly that. The film was set in Watts and Crenshaw, two neighborhoods in LA that carry a lot of history, especially when it comes to gang culture and police brutality. Take Watts, for example. Back in 1965, a 21-year-old guy named Marquette Fry got killed after a one-on-one run-in with the cops.
It began with the arrest by white officers of the California Highway Patrol of two young Negroes, one on a charge of drunk driving, the other his brother, his passenger. Their mother, who lives nearby, came to the scene. There was an argument. There was a scuffle.
That incident lit the fuse for what later became the Watts riots, one of the biggest uprisings of that era.
Geez, they really turned that thing over. Now they're going to burn it. It's all the way up. There it goes.
And history kind of repeated itself in 1992 with the Rodney King situation, which stirred up similar anger and frustration.
Who had the camera? Where was the camera? Oh my God, they caught this on camera.
I don't think you'd be exaggerating.
Everyone's frustrations just boiled over and it became anarchy.
Crenshaw, on the other hand, has always been a stronghold, not just for black folks, but for movements rooted in black pride and liberation. So putting Menace to Society in that kind of environment, it was bound to carry some serious weight. Now, before we get into the details, let's rewind a bit. Alan and Albert didn't just pop up out of nowhere. They actually started out shooting music videos for artists like TUPAC and Too Short.
We won when we were 19. We did a lot of hip-hop music videos. We did hip-hop videos for TUPAC, Too Short. We did like 29, 30 videos.
But the real turning point for them was when they saw the movie The Goodfellas. That was their first taste of gang-related stories.
Our love for film came through something pretty obvious and overstated now. Scorsese. Goodfellas is what really got us into the gangster movies.
That experience opened their eyes. They started looking around their neighborhoods differently, questioning the way cops and the media painted gang members as nothing more than criminals who got what they deserved. The brothers weren't buying that narrative. They knew there was way more to the story, more depth, more pain, more reason.
The system is not working right now. The cycle that these kids are going through somehow needs to be broken through education.
They got inspired by other films like American Me, and they started digging, asking questions, taking notes, trying to capture the real story. After about 2 months of deep research and writing, they had a script. They started pitching it around, and that's when they met Darin Scott. Darin actually took the time to hear them out. Once he read the script, he felt something, whatever it was, it moved him. He knew this was a story that needed to be told, and he wanted in.
And they said, well, we're developing a script with a friend of ours now. And it was Menace to Society, and they started telling me about it, and it sounded really intriguing. And I read it, and it shocked me.
Darin didn't stop there. He took the script to New Line Cinema, a production company run by Robert Shaye. And when Robert read it, he didn't hesitate. According to Darin, the story hit him hard. It brought him to tears. The reality of black young boys not breaking through the shackles of gang violence. That was the spark. After that, it was go time. The ball started rolling, and Menace to Society was now a movie that needed to be brought to life. The story followed a young dude named Katie Kane Lawson, played by Tyron Turner, and his tight circle. Kane and his best friend O-Dog, played by Lorenz Tate, found themselves deep in some heavy street stuff after O-Dog killed a liquor store cashier and his wife just because the guy disrespected him. Kane's whole life had been shaped by trauma, losing his parents early, growing up surrounded by gang life. It was only a matter of time before the streets swallowed him too. When the whole casting process for Menace to Society kicked off, things were already kinda tense. From day one, the Hughes brothers had big plans. They wanted this movie to hit just as hard as American Me and other movies alike. And to make that happen, they figured they needed real gangsters, or at least dudes who already had that street cred. And that was when they considered EAZY-E. Alan Hughes actually said that the character O-Dog was inspired by none other than EAZY-E. They felt like Easy just naturally was that guy, no acting needed.
There was a lot of changes. EAZY-E was supposed to be O-Dog.
That's right.
And that didn't work out.
That's right.
O-Dog was written for EAZY-E. We were with Easy while we were putting that script together.
Alan even said straight up, we wrote that role for EAZY-E. He looked up to him so much he called him a mentor, but things didn't quite go as planned. Easy and his manager Jerry Heller started making all kinds of demands about changing the script, and Alan wasn't feeling it. He said something like, I learned a lot from Easy, but he and Jerry were always trying to keep people boxed in and under control. And they were trying to do the same with us, and for Peanuts too. So eventually, the brothers had to walk away from that idea and look for someone else to fill O-Dog's shoes. And the cool part was that Easy already had a connection with the Hughes brothers. It all started way back during the Boys in the movie days when Alan and Albert rolled up to an NWA video shoot for Always Into Something. And from then on, they got tight.
Because we were there the night it was released with NWA, okay? So we're there, and we haven't directed anything. We're 18 years old. So we show up to this warehouse, and there's EAZY-E, Ren, Dr. Dre, Yella. Easy's like, give me your number.
Now, there was also some talk from Ice Cube's camp, claiming the Hughes brothers approached him first for the role. But Alan shot that down, saying Cube was never even in their thoughts when they were casting or writing.
Because Ice Cube has said for the record that he was meant to be cast as that. There was no way we were offering that role to Ice Cube given Doughboy and that whole thing, right?
In the end, they went with Lorenz Tate, and honestly, he killed it. Gave them exactly what they were looking for. But Easy wasn't the only casting headache. They also wanted MC Ren, another NWA member, for the role of Wax A. But Jerry Heller, as you might have guessed, stepped in again. He wasn't having it, so Ren was out. That's when they found MC8, who they had seen in a rap video. Something about his vibe just clicked. He brought the same energy they were hoping for with Ren, so they locked him in.
In a rap video, and he was in the projects, and he had this dripping Jerry curl, and we're like, who snuck him past, for lack of a better way of saying, how they let this by, right? Like this guy's real right here. We got to get him.
Then came TUPAC. His situation was different. He was originally cast as Sharif, the Muslim homie in Kane's crew. But during script readings, Pac started getting real frustrated with the character. He didn't vibe with it at all and kept interrupting rehearsals to complain.
My take on it was every time we got ready to rehearse, he had an opinion about his character.
TUPAC, we all started rehearsing and reading or whatever, and in the middle of it, TUPAC was like, man, I don't know, I can't get into this character. It's just, I need more meat.
The Hughes brothers said they tried to keep things cool, asking him politely to just go along with it, but Tupac wasn't having it. Things got heated to the point where Allen had to pull him aside to talk, and from there, it all kinda blew up.
Then Allen Hughes was like, Tupac, why you acting like a You acting like a right now. You acting like a straight Let's step outside.
Tupac didn't let it slide. He took it personal, so much so that later on, while the brothers were out and about near the set, Tupac and his crew showed up and pressed them. No one really knows what Tupac's intentions were in that moment, but given his rep and the tension between them, it was definitely sketchy. So when they pulled up, Tupac wasn't playing at all. He told the Hughes brothers to get out of the car, straight up threatened them, saying he was going to handle them personally. And knowing Tupac, that wasn't just talk. Things spiraled fast. Allen got roughed up pretty badly, while Albert managed to dip and avoid the whole mess.
Tupac says, both of y'all get out, I'm gonna beat both y'all. Exactly like that. I wasn't even running, I was moseying. I turn around the first time, I see Tupac at a smoking pipe. He puts it in his hand as my brother goes, I don't have any time for this. My brother walks away and Tupac hits him in the back of the head.
When filming finally got underway, they made sure the movie felt real, like really real. They shot it right in the middle of the Grape Street Crips neighborhood, one of those places where you don't just walk around casually, especially back then. Some of the cast even admitted they were low-key scared to shoot there. But surprisingly, things didn't get too wild because the crew played it smart. They hired locals from that very neighborhood. Some worked security, some even got small acting roles. So in a way, the people kind of protected the project.
A real naive thing on our part was thinking that we can go down to the neighborhood and shoot around real Grape Street Crips and in Jordan Downs, the housing project, and actually employ the real gangsters. We had hired a few of the guys on as technical consultants and emissaries to the neighborhood. We were all just sitting on the wall drinking beer and the police come around the corner chasing them down the alley. Now the guys all around them dressed in purple are real guys.
But all the drama didn't just stop there. One moment that had everyone talking was the chaos during the movie's very first screening. It was around 9:30 p.m. on a rainy Wednesday. Perfect low-key conditions, but just as the first show let out, gunshots rang out in the theater and spilled into the parking lot. Luckily, it wasn't as chaotic as it could have been, probably because the rain kept most people indoors. Cops pulled up fast, locked down the lot, started searching everyone, and even blocked cars from leaving. In the end, they arrested 3 guys, ages 24, 21, and 20. When they searched the place, they found a loaded .40 caliber pistol and about 15 shell casings. Turns out, according to police, the shootout was basically a continuation of some beef that had started earlier that day in a different neighborhood. They said the dudes involved didn't claim any gang affiliation, but, you know, nobody was really buying that. Now, if you've been following, you know Tupac used to be real cool with the Hughes brothers. There were even whispers that Pac wanted them to bring EAZY-E through for one of his videos, but it never happened.
Wasn't EAZY-E supposed to be in the Tupac video for If My Homies Call?
Tupac wanted him in trap.
And this was because the whole Ruthless versus Death Row drama was getting hot. The beef had escalated, and it was getting ugly. At one point, the Hughes brothers accidentally got caught in the middle of it. They were just chilling, and Allen casually mentioned Suge Knight's name around Jerry Heller. Suddenly, tension in the room shot up like crazy.
But also, I remember we were at Jerry's backyard one day, and he was in his sweats. And because we had big mouths and we would say what was on our mind, we said something to Jerry, and he literally pulls out a 25 and points it at my brother.
A gun?
Like, yeah. Like,
really?
What'd you say?
Really?
What'd you say?
To really understand all that, you have to rewind back to '89, when NWA was just blowing up. EAZY-E thought it was a smart move to bring in Jerry Heller to manage the group. But that one decision changed everything. As soon as Heller came on board, cracks started forming. Arabian Prince was the first to notice. He was like, yo, the money's not adding up. But no one listened, so he dipped out early, left the group, and kept it pushing. NWA still kept dropping bangers and selling out shows, but eventually Ice Cube started seeing the same red flags. Money wasn't matching the fame, and things felt shady. Then came the big moment. Heller handed them contracts and $75,000 checks. The rest of the crew signed without much thought, but Cube wasn't having it. He knew his worth and walked away from it all, with his head held high.
He's the X factor. He's the one who took it over the top and made it where it was a situation where I had to leave. you know.
So when you leave,
when Cube left, most of the guys still didn't get what was really going on. Dre, for example, thought he was cool. He even signed a deal worth $100K for 5 albums, which breaks down to just $20K per project. At the time, that sounded like big money.
Initially, Drake was supposed to have had a bigger piece of Ruthless, and he was getting, I think he was getting like $20,000 an album. At that time, he thought that was good money.
That good feeling didn't last. Not after Straight Outta Compton blew up and Dre's album sold 3 million copies in just a few months. The numbers were crazy, but Dre's bank pocket told a totally different story. And with his kind of influence, you know he wasn't letting that slide. He brought it up to EAZY and Heller, but they brushed it off. Dre kept pushing for answers, but nothing changed. Things were brewing quietly until the DOC got into that brutal car accident. His voice was gone, and with it, his rap career. That's when Suge Knight came in, just DOC's bodyguard at the time. But he started digging into contracts and saw how badly DOC was getting screwed. Word got to Dre. He asked Suge to look into his own situation, and Suge claimed Dre didn't even have a real contract. So they played it smart, no rushing. Dre went to EAZY face-to-face, tried to settle it like grown men. But EAZY picked Heller over him, and that was Dre's breaking point. He asked out, but EAZY wasn't letting him go without finishing his contract. That's when Dre brought it all back to Suge, and the real move started. The next swap was surely a tense meeting with EAZY at a Hollywood studio.
Andre made the call to EAZY. He said, look, man, I ain't gonna be dealing with Suge no more. I'm gonna come back and just deal with you. And I don't wanna leave Ruthless. EAZY say, well, who all gonna be there? He said, man, I'm in the studio by myself. Nobody even know I'm working. Just come to the studio.
EAZY thought he was walking into a one-on-one, but instead, Suge and his crew were waiting. They came heavy, tossed out threats, brought up his mom even, and allegedly had Heller sweating nearby. Some say EAZY got roughed up, but no one's ever really confirmed it. Either way, it worked. EAZY signed the papers, and just like that, Dre was free, for now. But Suge wasn't done. Next up was Heller. Mob James said they hit his house, spray-painted the place, scared off his security, and sent a loud message. Heller even admitted later on Vlad TV that he knew it was Suge. He tried calling him out, but Suge just played dumb. It shook Heller so bad he started carrying guns and hiding extras just in case. Now back to EAZY. He wasn't just a rapper with street cred, he was really connected. The Hughes brothers even considered him for this film role, which says a lot. His ties to the Mexican community were deep too. Long before the Chicano rap scene blew up, EAZY was already rolling with Mexican homies, like Crazy D, a close friend and NWA affiliate. And if you ever wondered who that one dude was on the NWA and the Posse cover that didn't seem to fit the name, that was Crazy D. Not photoshopped, not a mistake. He was part of the crew from day one. Crazy D wasn't just some random dude in a group photo. Nah, back then, he was actually more hands-on with NWA than some of the guys we now call core members. Unlike MC Ren, who just kinda ended up in that picture by chance. But Crazy D was in the trenches with them. Dude even helped shape their early sound and had writing credits on Panic Zone, NWA's very first single. So yeah, EAZY's connection with the Mexican community didn't come out of nowhere. It was baked into the foundation. But it didn't stop there. Fast forward a few years, and EAZY doubled down by signing Brownside, a hard-hitting Chicano rap group led by the late Toker and also linked up with Kid Frost, one of the pioneers of Latino rap. Now you have to understand, back then, no one was really giving Chicano rap the respect it deserved. It was seen as this underground thing, barely taken seriously in the mainstream. But EAZY saw the future. He knew this movement was about to explode, and he wanted to be at the front of it.
He had already signed the Brownside, and then he ended up signing Kid Frost, and we ended up working on the Brownside record, you know what I mean? And you know, that was his thing. He had that mind state about it because he knew that was coming. Like I said, the guy was ahead of his time.
Brownside wasn't your average rap group either. Under EAZY's wing, they helped define the whole Chicano rap wave. But here's the thing, they weren't just rappers playing dress-up in streetwear. These dudes were real ones, gangsters for real, with stories from the trenches. No filters, no fluff, just raw life experience turned into bars.
Came up and started blasting cause I knew they couldn't fake it. Jokers on the loose. And I'm straight gang related.
And when things between Ruthless Records and Death Row hit that boiling point, Brownside wasn't just watching from the sidelines. According to Toker, they rolled up right when things were getting real. It was like fate dropped them into the right place at the right time. Death Row thought EAZY was exposed and unprotected. But nah, Brownside was already standing beside him, fully locked in. Toker straight up told EAZY, "We got you, whatever happens."
We got you Ruthless when the Death Row Ruthless beef was cracking.
So they thought they were gonna overpower my boy because my boy was by himself. But you know, Destiny's a Destiny took Toker and the brown side clique to Ruthless.
And it wasn't just talk. Toker once pulled EAZY aside and told him, if there's anyone you need gone, just say the word. And EAZY, cool as always, kinda laughed it off like, it's not even like that, man. Toker wasn't buying it. He shot back, nah, it's exactly like that.
So we told E, we rolling with you, fool. We got your back. What's cracking with this death row roof? Who you want gone? Cause we ain't around.
He made sure EAZY knew, if things ever popped off, they had young soldiers ready to move. We're talking 15 and 16-year-olds who were so deep in the game, they were ready to take that charge, serve a few years, and be out before 22. That's how deep their loyalty ran.
Are you 16? Yo, little crook, how old are you? Like 15? All right, don't worry about it, E. I'm gonna send my little young juvenile torpedo so they can go ahead and do YA life. They're gonna let my boys out when they're 22 years old. Don't worry about it.
After that, the bond between EAZY and the Mexican community got even tighter. Brownside was with him everywhere. Business meetings, fancy restaurants, industry stuff, you name it. And they weren't just there for the vibes. They were there in case someone from death row thought they could pull up and make a statement. EAZY was never alone, and the message was clear. He had people ready. And then came the Cheesecake Factory story. EAZY's just chillin', eating, minding his business, out of nowhere. Like 7 or 8 dudes roll up on him, claiming they're with death row, surrounded him, trying to intimidate him, thinking they caught him lacking.
And it was like 7, 8 that claimed death row, waiting for their cars to pull up because they were leaving the Cheesecake Factory. Right when my boy E walked past them, they all surrounded him. What's up? And they were saying the N-word.
But what they didn't realize was, they just walked right into the wrong situation. Seconds later, the whole vibe flipped. Toker said it felt like they had just stepped into a packed Mexican soccer field. Real gangsters all around, ready to ride for EAZY. And these weren't just random fans or bystanders. These were solid street dudes, the kind who don't ask questions before they act. The death row guys caught on quick. The energy had shifted, and they were now the ones surrounded. They dipped so fast it looked like they saw a ghost, just jumped in their cars and peeled out. But Toker wasn't done. He called after them, real calm but real serious. In case y'all feel like coming back, don't worry, we'll be right here waiting. Now, looping back to that whole situation with the Hughes brothers, it's no wonder Jerry Heller practically flinched at the mention of Suge Knight. Alan Hughes even buttressed one of those wild stories about Suge kidnapping Heller. He claimed it actually made more sense than all the other versions floating around over the years. While all of these occurred during the shooting days of Menace 2 society, it is unbelievable what impact it had, especially on the black community.